All right, hey everybody, it's Dave. Welcome to our, I'm just going to adjust this light because it's bugging me. Welcome to our Tuesday night team call. Tonight we're going to talk about compliance issues, and I need a pen. They're in my pocket. We're going to talk about compliance issues tonight. I'm going to go through a presentation that Jonathan Gelfand did for us at Leadership with basically the top 7 compliance issues and then an 8th one that I added, which is becoming a bit of a hot button issue that I want you guys to be aware of. But before I do that, a quick plug for something going on tomorrow night. If you're in our team page and you're paying attention, you know what's going on. There's a webinar tomorrow night, okay? Here's what that webinar is about. Jimmy and I are organizing our men's leadership event. It's gonna be in May. I know we're not all guys on the call. And we have a private Facebook group for the guys who have tickets, and basically what we're doing is just every day going in there and sharing different ideas. We're on different topics. The first week was how to present the business opportunity. The second week was the invitation process. That's this week. And we just have all the different leaders who are speaking at the event. It's like 15 of the top guys in the company going in there and presenting on these different topics in like 3 to 5 minute video format. So there's a ton of content flying around in the group, a lot of really great ideas. And when we got to this invitation thing, I had a video where I was sort of presenting how I think you close. And Jimmy had another video that he filmed, and then there was another video that was filmed by somebody else. And the feedback was, give us more, give us more, give us more on this topic. So Jimmy and I decided to do a webinar. And we decided, you know, if we're going to do the webinar, we may as well open it up to everybody, not just the guys who are in the group. Let's make sure everybody has access to this content. So that is tomorrow night, Wednesday at 8:30 Pacific, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. There will be a recording if you register. You have to register before the webinar, and then we'll send you the recording, okay? But you've got to get registered for the webinar. On this webinar, we are going to be talking a little bit about our men's leadership event as well, okay? So just expect that. That's part of the purpose of this webinar is to spread the word, talk more about this event. This event, I will go into very briefly, is a men's leadership event. You would not believe the interaction in the Facebook group we have. There's more when you just get a group of guys together and there's no women around. They'll actually be honest. They'll get vulnerable. They'll say things that they just wouldn't say if they felt like there were a bunch of women around. And so I know sometimes we get a little bit of heat for how come this is just a guys only thing. It's guys only thing because guys have a problem. The problem is called ego, and the ego gets in the way of so many of the things that we do, and it prevents us from being honest around women, and it prevents us, and often can prevent us from learning from women. So in order to get around that, we just have all guys in the group, okay? A couple of things about that event. If you have guys who are on your team who aren't being as productive as maybe you want them to be, you might want to get them to come to our event, okay? We've had a tremendous amount of feedback from last year. I'll just share one story with you. Brian Bachman, who you may have seen on stage with his wife at Summit, who came to our event as a struggling kind of 2-star was the way he described it. He went on after our event, which was in March, was invited on stage with his wife for Summit as a success story. He's now a combined 9-star diamond, okay? And the guy literally said in the group just the other day, why? Because he went to this event and he learned a different way to think about this business that as a man he could relate to. So if you have guys who are struggling in the business, maybe you want to think about getting them here, okay? Help me help your people. That's why we're doing this. And this is our team, and my primary focus is on helping you guys, and I want as many people on our team to come to this event. 2 things you need to know. They need to know. First of all, get them on the webinar tomorrow night. If you have dudes, get them on the webinar. We'll talk about this more. But the price is going to go up on February 20th. Tickets are done on February 29th. They're gone. No more tickets on February 29th. The event is then in May. Reason ticket sales are closing early is because we have a deal with Gary Vaynerchuk, who is one of our keynote speakers, and because we want ticket sales done so we can focus on the event itself and bringing real quality to the event and working with each one of the speakers to make sure that they're giving us the actual ins and outs of what they do. I'm not interested in having an event that, to be blunt, looks somewhat like Summit, where, you have a bunch of people standing up there and they'd go, well, I don't know. I just do what I do, and I just do my daily thing. And every day I get up and I do my thing, and here's my thing, and I just do my thing. And they don't tell you what they're doing. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in doing is compiling together the best practices from people who are doing this business and are willing to share. If they're not willing to share, they don't get the mic. That's the deal that I'm making with them, okay? So I want you guys to know that, and I want you guys to help me get your people to this event. And the best way to do it is just get them on the webinar Wednesday night. If they can't make it, just have them register, okay? Have them register for the webinar. Tell them, hey, look, don't worry about your calendar. We'll get you the recording of the webinar, and that'll also then give us a little bit of access to them where we can talk to them about our great event. All right, let's talk about compliance. This is just everyone's favorite subject. So again, this is the compliance top 7 that Jonathan Gelfand did at our leadership event, with an added little thing from me, and also I think some sort of practical real world applications, maybe some things that Jonathan just can't say on stage at a leadership event, you know, where he's being recorded and all that. And since I don't have a boss, I can say whatever I want, pretty much. So let's start here with your job, and you'll see number 8. Number 8, your job particularly applies to number 8, which is just to give you a little preview, the coach poaching issue that is becoming kind of a hot button thing. And your job is really to be the eyes and ears of the network. You know, as coaches, we have a responsibility to protect this company. It's a responsibility I take very, very seriously. I've worked really hard to build relationships with people like Jonathan Gelfand, who's our corporate counsel, for those of you who don't know. Because I take my job to protect this company really, really seriously. It's incredibly important to me that the company has longevity and we survive and we're able to continue to do our mission. You know, I was just talking to somebody, I was just telling a story of Adriel Barrera. And if you don't know the story of Adriel was a guy who signed up with Ryan Chapman to be a coach, and he had 100 pounds to lose. And Ryan is a guy who also has lost 100 pounds. And together they were going to do it. And they were going to have this tremendous transformation story. And he had a big why. He had a wife and a 7-year-old daughter that he really felt like, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to make it. And he, about, I don't know, maybe 2 months, I don't even know if it was 2 months after he signed up, he went to sleep and didn't wake up. He had a massive heart attack in his sleep and didn't wake up. And that's just a guy that we didn't get to in time, you know? And I look at the flip side of that, I look like people like Bob Taylor, who, you know, had 97 pounds to lose when he came to me, worked with Bob. Bob got off a crap ton of medicines and now runs, I don't know how many marathons he's run this year. It's ridiculous. He's run at least in the last, like, you know, 12-month period, he's run at least 15 half marathons and probably like 3 or 4 like full marathons. That's the type of impact we want to continue to have. And in order for us to continue to have that type of impact, you need to do your job. And one of your jobs is making sure that if you see this stuff, that you report it. And I'll talk about how to do that in this process. If you see these things, I need you to take some action. Don't just glaze by it and don't go, oh, it's just so-and-so doing something wrong. They probably don't know. That is the one thing I will tell you more than anything about compliance is if I message somebody and say, hey, I saw this thing, that's a problem. Most of the time the answer is, oh my God, I totally didn't know I couldn't do that. Sorry, thought, you know, came up with an idea in my brain, sounded good at the time, didn't know I couldn't do that, and they'll take it down. The biggest thing that we see now is income claims. This is a super, super hot button issue, is income claims. It's very simple, okay? The rule here is super simple. You can say how much money you make. You can talk about the success you've had. You can talk about the cars you've bought from Beachbody. You can talk about the houses you bought from Beachbody. You can make whatever claims you want as long as they're true, and you include the disclaimer, okay? You just have to include the disclaimer. That's it. If you like, some of you guys have maybe seen the video where I take out our surfboard and write down my income on it, you know, from my first business center, you know, from 2008 until I think when I did it, it was 2013, but I've updated it to include 14 and 15. That's fine. You can totally do that. Okay. You can totally do that if that's what you want to do. If you don't include the disclaimer, it's a violation of the FTC rules. It's a violation of our policies and procedures. It can get you in trouble personally. You know, we had a company called Vima a couple of months ago that got into big trouble. This is why they got into trouble. These guys were showing up at meetings. A, they were making claims that weren't true, like they were making $50,000 a week when they really weren't. B, they were like, here's my new Lamborghini. Thanks, Vima. No income disclaimer. That's it. That was the major thing that they were doing. They also had some other problems, mainly that the guys who started the company had already been in trouble a couple of times. I'm going to touch on that later as well. Kind of repeat offender thing that happens. But this is the big thing. And really, you got to think about it. If you're sort of saying, thanks Beachbody for anything, you need to include the disclaimer. It's just that easy. Like I should even probably be doing it because I don't really do that much, but if I had a post that's like, wow, I'm so fortunate that I get to go on a heli skiing trip every year because I worked hard and built my Beachbody business. Technically, I think that needs an income disclaimer, that type of stuff. It kind of rises to that level. You can sneak it in there anywhere in the post. It can be included. What I would suggest is you image it and put it on the bottom. Like if you're using Canva or PicMonkey or whatever you use for images, just, pop that image down at the bottom. That's fine. That's fine. Then you're protected. Then we're all protected, right? If you see people making income claims, remind them about the disclaimer. It's just that easy. This is the big one where I say, people didn't even know, or I didn't even think of it. Like, oh, geez, I knew that. How did I forget that? It's not an intentional thing. It's like they're so stoked because something great just happened in their life and they know it's directly related to this company and they just want to say thanks. I get that. And that's the response I get is, oh my gosh, so sorry, space that, I'll go do it right now. And they're thankful that I reminded them. So that's one, it's just as simple as going, hey, I think you might want to include the disclaimer on that, okay? That's your job. That's your job, okay? Next one, product claims. Product claims, I think it's kind of funny. I was watching Jonathan's presentation again, and he had some really crazy before and after pictures and some statements that people were making about Shakeology curing blindness. To me, this is just be real. Just share real results. Anything that comes from Beachbody you can trust is real. They vet those people. They make them sign paperwork that their stories are legit. So if it comes from Beachbody, you don't have to worry about sharing that transformation story. But when you're making up your own transformation story in particular, or your customers, don't fudge stuff. Don't show somebody who lost 30 pounds in 5 days. Don't cut corners like that. Actual real stuff is fine. There is a disclaimer for this as well. This is a disclaimer that is rarely used, and that's probably okay. You would need this disclaimer, and you can find it in the FAQ. You can find both of these in the FAQ, by the way. You would need this disclaimer if you were going to say something like, I had chronic Crohn's disease, and I don't have it anymore because of Shakeology. And this disclaimer just basically says the FDA has not approved that statement, and that's your own opinion. It basically protects everybody. I don't recommend you say things like that. And they might be true. You may have had chronic Crohn's disease, and it may have been, and it may now be under control, and that may in large part be because of Shakeology. It also could be because of your healthy lifestyle, because you stopped eating bread, and because you stopped drinking alcohol and eating pizza or whatever else. It could be a combination, most likely is a combination of just a healthy lifestyle, which I think would be a good statement to say, because I know this is Monica's experience. For those of you who don't know, she had her Crohn's disease was really bad. We started using Power 90 and changed our diet and just cut a bunch of crap out of our diet and stopped eating things like onion rings. And she hasn't been on medications for, I think, 10 or 11 years now. Actually, it's longer than that. That was 2003. So since 2003, she hasn't been on meds. So for her to go in and say, because of my healthy lifestyle, my Crohn's disease is in remission, I think that's not something you would need a disclaimer for. But if you're going to go in there and blatantly say, Shakeology cured my disease, I think A, that's a big mistake. Don't do that. And B, at the very least, you need some sort of a disclaimer on that one. This is just a common sense one here. Don't make shit up. That's not going to fly. Next one's bonus pool and incentives. So where this comes up is a lot of different ways. But where it comes up mainly is and then the big hot button issue was, okay, I want to get a group of my coaches together and I want them all to sort of do a competition, kind of like a team cup, and what we're going to say is everybody toss $20 in the pool or whatever. And the first one to diamond gets all of it, or if everybody makes it to diamond by such and such date, you guys can split it. I was a part of one of those as one of the administrator, facilitator people. And the pot was huge. It was like 70 grand, and you know, that a lot of people were splitting that pot. So it wasn't like, you know, everybody was getting that much money. I think everybody got, and that's another thing, it does have to be distributed evenly. I think everybody got like $450 or something like that, which is still pretty good. But corporate has decided that because of that thing, that's probably a red flag. That's not a good thing. If you're going to pull people together, it can't be over $5 grand. It has to be entirely paid out too. You can't keep some piece of it as, I don't know, your fee or whatever. So the bigger thing though is, and one of the things that I think is an issue that is starting to come up, okay? And I'm not gonna speak to you guys because I'm pretty sure you're not doing this. I'm gonna speak to your job. There are people out there who think, I know how I'll get coaches. I'll kick them back the cost of their product, or, you know, I'll pay them to buy a challenge pack, or, you know, basically paying customers to buy product, or more appropriately paying people to recruit. So join my team and I'll give you blah, blah, blah. People are just posting that on social media. Again, I think they're just unaware that you can't actually do that. Seems like a great idea, just like people used to sell on eBay. Well, I'll just sell it on eBay. Sounds like a great idea. Now everybody knows you can't sell on eBay because we started putting a lot of heat on that issue. Not just me, but the leaders in the company started putting a lot of heat on the issue. You cannot pay people to join your team. The only exception to that is what is okay is saying something like, if you buy a challenge pack, I'll give you a $25 gift card. That's the number that they've said, okay, $25, a gift card, not cash, but a gift card to a store. You know, the example that was used was Lululemon. And I've seen a number of people do that. You know, if you feel like you've got to pay people to get a challenge pack, I think it's kind of ridiculous, really. You know, if you've built relationships with people and you've identified what their why is, and you've identified why it's important for them to become healthy and fit. You know, Adriel Barrera, once he realized that he needed to stay alive for his daughter, didn't need a $25 gift certificate to Lululemon to get started. He just got off his ass and got moving. Okay, because that's what people do when you help motivate them. But you can do that. I don't recommend it. I just don't think. I think you're just losing commission is what you're doing. You're just giving away part of your commission. And I think they should get rid of that. To be honest with you, my vote is let's get rid of that. I have a quick question. What about gift cards for referrals? Yeah, that's a good question. You know, the technical answer I'm going to give you is email Jemima at compliance@beachbody.com. I'll have her email on the next sheet to ask her, because I don't know specifically. I would think it's going to fall within the realm of the same thing. I mean, to me, it's a little different because that's not somebody signing up to be a coach on your team. It's not somebody buying anything from you. I don't see why that's a problem, to be honest, because if somebody is a great referral source for me, yeah, why wouldn't I send them a gift? That's just good business from my perspective. But if that's something you're doing and it's working for you, I'd just email Jemima and just ask the exact question. Which is the other thing as far as your job, and I'll pause on that. I'll talk a little bit about compliance and how to deal with them and how to deal with individual situations. But my advice on the next page is going to apply to that question. It's a good question, though. I appreciate that. What is the other problem? There was another one that I was thinking of. Can't exceed it. Yeah, that's basically it. Oh, not for recruiting. Yeah. So here's the other thing. This not for recruiting. So you can't pay people to join your team. You also can't pay people to build your team. Okay. So we can't give people money to go out and get coaches. Okay. And say, oh, if you bring in this many coaches, I'll pay you this much money. Or if you become a diamond, I'll pay you this much money. You can do that incentives thing. If you want to do that, if you're thinking about doing some sort of an incentive thing, get in touch with me. Okay. That's a tricky thing. I don't want to get too into that because that's something that is on more of a leadership level. The leaders know, you guys know, your star diamonds. You can come to me. If you're thinking about putting together some sort of an incentive for your people to advance and rank, there's ways to do it. It can be a little touchy. It's one of the reasons we changed the format of our retreat to talk more about team leader rather than diamond. being a diamond coach is about recruiting. Being a team leader is about recruiting. It's about building volume. It's about building a team. It's about building leaders. It's not just about one thing. It's about more activities that build your whole business. So that's one of the reasons we changed it. But if you're thinking about doing that, just get in touch with me, and I'm more than happy to, kind of go through it. I know what the guidelines are. Number 4, social media. So one of the things they talked about is if you are making claims about the products. Okay, so I lost 30 pounds. I did this, and I did the 21-day fix, and here's my thing. Shakeology helped me with my Crohn's disease, whatever it is. You have to identify yourself as a Beachbody coach. Okay, now it's a little unclear whether you need to do that in every single post or whether it's good enough to have it as part of your Instagram profile or your Facebook profile. But somehow you need to identify yourself as a Beachbody coach so that people know you don't have a completely unbiased opinion of this product, right? And I think that's fair. Again, I think this is one of these things. Transparency is important. I see that It Works people do this a lot, and they're icky, right? So let's not be like that. Second thing was be respectful. And I think this is really just, again, this is one of these common sense things. I think we want to be respectful at all times online. I think that applies to, just kind of running your mouth off. For a lot of people, politics are going to become a very hot button issue. I love talking about politics personally, but I don't do it on my social media, and I don't do it on social media because it potentially damages a customer group of mine, and there's just too much potential for somebody to tee off and go crazy. And then I have to somehow manage that. So I just don't talk about politics on my page, other than to maybe comment on something big that might happen. But I really don't talk about share my political opinions on a page. I think you want to be careful with that. If it's important for you, I guess that's fine. But to me, you're just going to eliminate half the people who are online. And if that's okay with you, personally, I don't care. Bob Taylor's politics when I was coaching him had nothing to do. We can disagree with that stuff. Nothing to do with my desire to help him heal himself. Chris Reed and I are on polar opposites of the spectrum, but we're really the best of friends. And he's one of the guys I love talking about politics with. But I don't do that online. You just have to be careful about that. And same thing with rants or complaining or, oh my God, my day sucked so bad or all that stuff. You just have to be conscious, as people who are becoming public figures, you're always being watched. People are always watching you. And I think you want to be real with what's going on and share the elements of your life that aren't very good. But I think that the way to do that is to say, to reflect on it. First of all, don't just go post some crazy thing because you're in the heat of the moment and you want some Facebook attention, okay? The better way to do it is to handle whatever the situation is and then learn from it. What I know is I learn from every single circumstance that happens in my life, good and bad. If I'm paying attention, I'm learning. People love that. They want to learn. So when something does happen that's bad in my life, you guys have probably seen me talk about our divorce. It's not an easy thing to go through. I didn't go on there and just rant. I handled my business, and then I said, here's what I learned. Here's what I learned from that. Here's how I learned my shortcomings, things that I needed to get better on, or here's how I've learned to handle a certain situation that was difficult. And there are other times in my life where I've been through things that have been hard. That's the way to do it. That's where people go, wow, I want to be like that guy. Like, he can handle his shit. He doesn't lose his shit and go crazy on social media and cause a big rant. Be respectful. It's just smart. Is that a PNP violation? No, that's just my personal advice to you. When this does become a PNP violation is when you catch somebody doing something wrong. Okay? This is not the time to tee off on somebody. That's just a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake because I guarantee you don't know all the facts. Just guarantee it. That's the wrong time. If you see something that is shady, it's the time to take a screenshot. That is the time to email that screenshot to compliance@beachbody.com. There's a lady named Jemima, and she got a whole team of people on the other end of that, and they deal with this stuff all the time. And then maybe contact me. Maybe. Okay? I don't need to know about every coach who is offering people money to join their team. I don't need to know about that stuff. they can handle that, and they do. And I'll talk. I don't want to get too off topic. I want to stay with contact me, and then I'll talk about how they handle things. However, if things get personal and things get a little nasty, and you got an issue with somebody, and they have an issue with you, more importantly, and there's a personal thing that's going on, that's when you need to get in touch with me. I'm pretty good at helping iron out personal issues. I know a lot of people. I probably know their upline. We could probably get together and chat it out. This is rare. This is really rare. That's why I'm saying you can contact me, because it just doesn't happen that often. Most people are pretty cool. Most people, it's going to be something that they didn't know they weren't allowed to do. I want to talk about how compliance handles things when you do bring these issues to them. I think too often what people want is they want to say, okay, I reported Sally Smith for, whatever it was, right? I want to know the outcome of that matter, and I want some sort of, public vindication that Sally Smith got what's coming to her. You're not going to get that. They keep compliance as an in-house compliance department. Their job is not to tell you who they're policing or how they're policing them. Their job is to police. And they do it on a discrete level, and I think they do it very well, because they don't just come hammering down on somebody with like some sort of Wile E. Coyote anvil that crushes their skull. They handle things on a one-on-one basis, and they handle things very well. They'll handle it, okay? Here's the other thing I'll tell you. If Sally Smith gets reported once for this, probably going to get some sort of contact from Jemima. If she gets reported again for it, she's probably going to get some little bit more strong compliance or contact from Jemima in the compliance department. But if multiple people are doing their job, going back to your job, multiple people are doing their job and going, look, she keeps doing this. It's the same person who keeps doing this. That's when these people, these repeat offenders, that's when they're on compliance's radar screen. You don't want to be on compliance's radar screen, okay? So we need to be doing our job, and this is the way to handle this thing. Be respectful. If it's outside the bounds of something you're comfortable handling it, this is the way to handle it. Send a screenshot to Jemima. It's a personal issue. Contact me. If I can help you iron it out, I will. Bonus buying. Okay, bonus buying mainly applies to the Star Diamond bonus. So what bonus buying basically looks like is we're gonna buy product to keep diamonds active for the 6-month period so we can get a hold of the Star Diamond bonus. Don't do that. Just simple. Don't do that. Okay, it's not worth getting caught. There's up to, I think it's $100,000 fine if you get caught bonus buying. So don't bonus buy. It's just that simple. That's a really simple one. I don't even know it's on the list. Number 6, intellectual property, trademark, and copyright issues. I'm kind of surprised this is on the list because I think we sort of generally know this. I think what happened was a lot of people were making T-shirts for things like Summit. And if you want to do that, that's fine. We've done Summit T-shirts before and we've put logos on them. You just have to send them to compliance@beachbody.com and just get them pre-approved. It just really sucks to print up a box of T-shirts and then have, one of the trainers go, my face is on some team shirt. I don't endorse that team. I'm a trainer. I'm independent of that. And that's one of the sort of hot button issues too. Don't do that. You use the stuff in the back office generally, but if you're going to make a team shirt, use Team Beachbody logos, more Team Beachbody, less program, okay? And like no trainer faces. That's a bad idea. The other thing is you can't profit from that stuff. You can't sell, you can't, pay $10 for a Summit T-shirt, for example, and then charge 20 and keep the extra 10. That you can't do because you're using their intellectual property. And they grant you a license to do that, provided you're not selling product with their name on it. You can get your costs back, okay? Break even on it. That's always fine. Domains, Facebook accounts, and other social media accounts, you're not allowed to register their trademarks. So you're not allowed to be, and I found this out on Twitter, because I used to have the Twitter handle Insanity Report, and they informed me that you're not allowed to do that. And I had to change it to Insane Report. So I've been down this road. Somebody reported me and got in trouble. But you can't register domains either, so you couldn't be www.p90xshakeologycoach.com or Shakeology Coach or Shakeology anything involving Shakeology, okay? Your variations of Shake are fine, but Shakeology itself is a trademark, and you cannot use that in a domain name. Now, sometimes I say this and people go, wait a minute, I've got a web page, and the web page is susiethecoach.com/Shakeology. That's fine. That's not a domain name. That's an extension. Extensions are fine. The base domain name can't have their trademarks in it. And that's really the biggest hot button issue. And that one's a pain in the ass too, because then you get a website set up and you have to change the URL. You got a bunch of stuff. Just don't do that. If you have questions, again, if you have questions about URLs, t-shirts designs, can I use this name on my Facebook or whatever? Send them to compliance. They're pretty quick. That's an easy one. That they're like, yes, no, okay. And I recommend that you're in touch with them anyway. They're good people to have relationships with. And they're just good people, period. All right, number 7. The code of ethics is number 7 on Jonathan's presentation. I already talked about it. It's your job. You know, your job is to make sure you're complying with not just these things, but the entire policies and procedures. And then it's to help make sure that other people are doing the same thing. Okay? We have to protect the integrity of this network. Okay? If things like what I'm about to talk about continue and get out of control, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. So if you know what's going on, don't just sit there and gripe about it. This is what people do all too often, is they just, oh, well, this happened, and now I'm mad, and I'm going to quit. Well, great. You're going to quit doing your business because somebody violated the rules? Report it. Okay, this is becoming an issue of frustration, so I'll just move on. Coach poaching, or as I like to call it, stealing. Okay, because that's pretty much what it is. There's 2 ways it happens. Okay, it happens with customers and it happens with coaches. So I want to distinguish between those two, and I want to tell you how to handle it, and I want to tell you how to avoid it. That's a hint. With customers are at will change, okay, which means that at any point, if your customer is not happy with you as their coach, they can change. There are some people who have a problem with that. They don't like losing customers. You know, they think they have the wrong view, in my opinion, have the wrong view of what a customer lead is to us. So, and I think customers come in a couple different varieties. The leads from Beachbody are just leads. If they give me a lead, sorry, I bumped my computer. If they give me a lead and I never take the time to connect with that person, I never serve that person, they go out looking for a coach and they find somebody who's really going to help them, I should probably lose that customer, lose that lead, in my opinion, okay? I think it's a little bit different when we have, and this is one of the subjects where things get touchy, you know. We have situations where, you know, it's somebody that I know, you know. It's like somebody that I know, my sister's aunt's uncle or whatever, and I know them. I have a conversation with them. I sign them up as a customer. Maybe I even sell them a product. I'm working with them. We have an active relationship together. And all of a sudden, they post on Facebook, I just bought the 21-day fix, and you know damn well I didn't get it from you. Where'd you get it? And that's becoming an issue, is that people are just swiping customers from each other. Again, it's a circumstantial thing. I think that's something to really get about this whole poaching situation, is it's very, very circumstantial. And, you know, because you don't know how those things happen. It's easy to assume, oh, well, you know, let's use Sally Smith again. Sally Smith went and stole my customer. Maybe, maybe not. You know, maybe they had a different relationship, but it's a problem for people who are actively doing that. There are people who are stupidly actively doing it out loud in public, sending people messages. So if one of your customers contacts you and says, hey, Sally Smith sent me this message, and the message is switched to me, and it's somebody that you're actively working with, that's a good time to get back over to compliance. Take a screenshot of it, send it to compliance, and go, hey, this Sally Smith is just out of control. She's trying to take my customers. You know, or if this happens in groups. I've seen this happen. This happened. I wasn't in the group, but I saw screenshots of it, of this happening in the big 21-day fix group that Carl and Autumn did, which I will tell you right now, don't add your people to that. I told them, until they change that group, I'm going to tell everybody to stay the hell away from it. Because that's a great idea for Carl and Autumn to have a Facebook group where they lead people through the 21-day fix. It's a fantastic concept. Problem is, there were coaches going in there actively looking for customers, and there were other coaches who were adding their customers to the group thinking they were safe. They're not. Crap like that needs to stop. It needs to stop from anybody on our team doing it for sure. And I don't believe that that's happening because this is not the people this is not the team that we raised. But crap like this needs to stop. And the only way it stops is by getting some proof and by sending it over to compliance. Okay. So hopefully that's clear what I'm talking about with customers. Again, I'm probably going to get some messages about this, about, well, what about this specific circumstance? That's not my call. It's Jemima's call. Okay. There are honest mistakes that happen. Customers, one of the things I think you do have to keep in mind is customers do not understand how our system works. They don't have any concept. Why would they? That's like me understanding how a doctor's office works. I have no clue. I got the slightest because I don't understand this business model. So a lot of times people want to haul off and kind of blame the customer. It's usually not the case. The customer just doesn't know. They don't get that, oh yeah, I guess I did buy that P90X from you or whatever. And now I don't know, I just bought another program from this other person. What's the big deal with that? They don't understand it. They don't get it unless you educate them. Okay. And I educate my people. When I sign up a customer, I make sure that they understand, hey, here's how this works. I'm your coach. I'm your guy. You work with me and only with me. Now, if you want to go and ask other people questions and they're willing to answer them, that's cool. But here's how this works. You have a website. Here it is. It's got a button called shop. That button called shop is linked to me, and anything you buy, I'll get credit for. Now, think about doing that really quickly. I mean, hopefully your mind is working right now and you're going, okay, if I did that, aren't I just telling them what I do as a coach way before they're even thinking about becoming a coach? Because that's what you're doing. You're telling, that's such a free biz op for you to explain to your customers how it all works. Like, yeah, I'm a coach, so I get, it doesn't cost you anything extra. You could buy it from Beachbody. It's the exact same cost. If you get it from me though, I get a part of your sales cost. Okay. A little commission. It's just telling them what we do as coaches, and it's going to ensure that you build that loyalty. I have a lot of my customers will come to me when a new product comes out. I'll get messages from people who have been customers of mine for years. Some of them, like, I haven't talked to them for years. It always happens at New Year's too. They forgot what I told them about that, but they still want to make sure that I get credit for the sale. And they'll message me and go, okay, I want to buy this thing. How do I do it? I want to make sure you get the credit. Simple. Log in. Am I still your coach? Yep. Cool. Hit shop. You're good. They don't understand that. And so I think blaming the customers can be the wrong way to go. The problem we have right now, guys, I'll just be blatant about it and blunt, is that there's too many coaches going after other people's customers. They're looking for existing 21-day fixed customers and to convert them into, a hammer and chisel challenge pack or something. And it's got to stop. It's just got to stop. And the only way it stops is if we do our jobs. We do our jobs and we report this stuff. Okay, that's the only way it stops. Complaining about it is not going to stop it. Reporting it has a chance at stopping it. That's it. The other way this happens is with coaches. The rule with coaches is that, so the rule with customers, again, is at will. They can change coaches at any time. The rule with coaches is 6 months. And it's a real bright line rule. If you're a coach and you want to split and you want to change sponsors, you have to quit, be inactive for 6 months, then you can sign up again. So you have to basically quit, forfeit your whole business, and then you can start up again. There have been some rather creative ways I've seen people try to get around the 6-month rule, okay? I'm not even going to really go through them. I think they're pretty obvious, but here's what you're looking for. You're looking for a coach who you should be friends with on Facebook, okay? If you're not friends with your coaches on Facebook, that's a bad idea. But you're looking for a coach who you get a termination notice from, and then a week later, they're pushing whatever the new product is that's out. They've clearly switched teams. Now, that's the type of thing you got to send to compliance. We have to send these issues to compliance. Okay, they just have to know about them, and they need some proof. So again, take a screenshot. Screenshot it. If Sally Jones, who quit your team, is now posting again about Shakeology or something within a week, I just send it off to Jemima and say, look, she quit. How can she be doing that? Okay, the answer is probably that Sally is married and Sally has signed her husband up and is working her husband's account. That needs to be reported. Okay, that needs to be reported. That's not how this works. It's a real bright line with 6 months. Okay, We just have to report these things. Okay, this issue, if I'm being emotional about it, it's because it's personally bothering me now what's happening. It's personally bothering me because this network used to be filled with people with ultimate integrity. They weren't concerned about how fast they built. They were concerned about how well they built. And they were concerned about what they built. And they built for stability, and they built for longevity, and they built an incredible foundation here. These idiots are going to ruin it. Okay? I'm just telling you, these idiots are going to ruin it. And I hate to, be the bearer of bad news, and I'm going to finish on a strong point, but you've got to report these things. There need to be evidence. And the last thing I will tell you on this issue is that this is a business issue, not a personal issue. If somebody takes one of your customers or your coaches, don't make that a personal issue. When we make things like this a personal issue, they're incredibly easy to dismiss because you get all worked up and you're all, hyped up. And then Jemima gets on the phone with you and blah, 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 and they just go, oh, this is crazy. And they don't listen. They're just not going to listen. But when you stay here on the business side of things and go, no. This is what the rule says. This is what the rule says. It's fine if she wants to quit, but she's got to be inactive for 6 months. Those are just the facts. The facts are, this is what the rule says. The facts are, she did this. And leave it at that. Then it's much harder for them to make it go away. Okay? It's really easy to dismiss stuff when we take things so personally. And it's not a personal issue. It's just not. This is a business issue. I know our business is about relationships. Relationships are very personal. You have heard me talk about this countless times. Fundamentally, I believe the most important thing we do is build relationships. When it comes to stuff like this, though, that's business. Okay? And then you got to keep it that way. Now, how do we keep this from happening to us? How do you protect yourself? That's, I think, for me, the two big things are, A, let's stop it, and B, how do we keep it from happening to us? Because it doesn't happen very often around here. Okay? The customer thing, yeah, maybe, again, with my leads, if I get a lead from Beachbody and I can never get a hold of them or whatever, and they find another coach, that's just part of it, Not very many coaches leave our team. They just don't. Why? Here's why. Leadership. If you want to keep your people on your team, you have to lead them. That's just what's required. That's what they're looking for. If they're shifting teams, they're looking for some sort of leadership, or they've been promised something that doesn't exist, which is shady as well. I know, but the number one thing that people say when compliance talks to them about, well, why would you do that? Why would you try to get it, squeezle around the 6-month rule? I moved to another team. The number one thing they say is, I was unsupported. I was unsupported. Now, that's a debatable thing too, right? That's one of those things. Okay, you were unsupported. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like no one would talk to you. Your team wasn't good. Calls like this are the reason that people can't say that about us. The fact that we have a training website. I'm working on something now that is going to blow your friggin' mind. It's going to blow your mind when you see what I'm working on. And I'm feverishly working on it for everybody on the team. This is how you avoid losing people. Leadership can come and go, okay? And believe me, I had to take a little time off last year, but everybody knew I was going to be back because we led these people. So it doesn't happen to us very often. Occasionally, yeah, do people leave? Sure. Sometimes it's a personality thing. And I get that. Like if you don't fit on our team, it's funny. I'll tell you, I do these diamond mine groups where I work with groups of leaders for 6 weeks. And part of the structure of the program is taken from another network marketing company and one of the guys who mentored me. And there's a whole section that talks about integrity. And I'm just going to take it out. I'm just going to take it out because we don't have those issues on our team. Our team is filled with people who genuinely want to help other people, not a bunch of greedy people who want something for nothing. So that greedy person who wants something for nothing isn't probably going to fit here. And I'd be more than happy to let them go. Okay? But leadership is about creating culture and providing your people with the support they need. It's one of the most challenging parts of our business. Absolutely. One of the most challenging parts of our business. It is also beyond measure the most rewarding part of our business. And I don't just mean that from a financial perspective. I mean, leadership is emotionally fulfilling and emotionally rewarding. And if you'll do it, you won't have any of these problems. You won't have any of these problems because your people will know about all these issues. They'll know what to do when this stuff happens. You won't lose people because people will say, well, I am supported here. Like, is it maybe as green as the grass that's being presented to me over here? Well, I don't know. Maybe not. And maybe it's not as green as whatever that grass is over there. But God, I just couldn't do that to Dave because you build relationships with people. And then you don't need to deal with this. And then the only time you're ever reporting this stuff is when you see it in a group like that. And has nothing to do with your customers, it's somebody else's customers. Because your customers, you build relationships with them and they fall in love with you. Your coaches, you build relationships with them and they fall in love with you. They never stab you in the back like that. But if you don't do that and you don't take the time to build those relationships and build that team, somebody's coming for them. And I'm sad to say that's happening. It sucks. Believe me, I don't do this call lightly. Because this issue pisses me off that people are even trying, that the coaches are doing it. Not the people leaving, but the people drawing them away. But the way we keep them here is through leadership and by strong culture and by getting them tapped into things like this call and things like, what a fantastic segue, the webinar. Get them tapped into the webinar. Let them know that I'm the leader of this team and they should be on this thing because I'm going to be doing it. Because we're going to train you for free. And we're going to train everybody for free. But have them on things like this. Get them dialed into that. When you do that, they're less likely to even think about switching teams. Because they're happy here. That should be one of the goals of building your team, is to make sure that people feel like they're accepted and that they feel like they have a place where they can go and where they can learn. And that all the resources are available to them. Most of the people I talk to, they tell me it's not a lack of training. It's a lack of will, a lack of time, or a lack of something else. It's not that they don't have the information about what to do. Because we have resources, beyond what anybody else has. I mean, I don't know of another team where they've laid out an entire email marketing campaign for you and exactly how to do it, how to run Facebook ads, and just gave that to you guys. Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't know what other people have. I don't look in other people's yards. I focus on making sure my grass is just as green as possible and that people are happy. That's what leadership is, and that's how you keep your people. That's how you avoid this stuff from happening. And when you see your coaches doing silly things that you know are in violation, don't hesitate to let them know they probably just don't know. I mean, they probably just don't know. It's one of those things that most of these issues, they don't know. Now, people know that they can't take other people's coaches and customers. They know that. But, these income claims, making claims about products, those sorts of things, yeah, they're hot button issues with compliance, but most of the time people just don't know about it. The other stuff, I think we just need to keep reporting it, and we need to keep it at the forefront. And, that is another issue. I will tell you, that is another time you can contact me. Is if you see that Sally Jones left your team a week ago and you got the termination notice, and then all of a sudden Sally Jones is promoting Shakeology. Yeah, you take a screenshot, get whatever evidence you have, whatever correspondence or whatever you can get, you send it to compliance and you copy me. And I'm more than happy to be the squeaky wheel in that conversation, because that whole thing has got to stop. And the only way it stops is through compliance. It's not going to stop by getting public about it or taking it personal or doing any of that stuff. That's how it stops, is through compliance. Okay. So I am going to open it up for questions, really. So if anybody has questions about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to answer them, if I can. Despite contrary to belief, I do not know everything, but I do know a few things. Somebody's got a question. Great. So you guys already have this stuff. That's why it's not an issue. Nobody? I have another question. Question is, so you cannot give incentives for coaches that rank advance. You can. No, you can. You just have to be very careful about it. You know, that's what I'm going to tell you is you have to be very careful about that. And what you can't do very clearly is say, hey, you know, Sally Jones, so if you sign up your husband, Jeremy Jones, famous snowboarder, and your cousin, Molly Jones, and advanced Emerald coach, I'll pay you $180. So that'll just basically pay for their Shakeology anyway, right? that you can't do that, you know. And I think it's going to be kind of a common sense thing about what you can offer incentives for. You can offer, like the examples they gave in Jonathan's video. And again, I hesitate to get into this issue because it's always going to be like, well, what if I did this? And what if I did that? And what if I did this? And any of those things could change this scenario. But here's what he said. He said you could offer an incentive to say that all my coaches who hit diamond, who are diamonds at the end of the year, get a Tiffany gift or something like that, or whatever, a book or whatever it is, you know, that you decide to get. And you made the distinction that, first of all, it's open to everybody, and it has nothing to do with the Star Diamond bonus. So you could also say, if you're a diamond coach, I'll send you a gift. And we regularly send our diamonds gifts, and that's a pretty well accepted practice across, you know, when you hit diamond, we send you a present because it's a big deal and we want to celebrate that. What's problematic is if you start to say people, okay, if you hit diamond and hold it for 6 weeks, then I'll send you a gift. Because that's really more about your Star Diamond qualification. Okay, and that Star Diamond bonus pool that I mentioned earlier, again, there's just a few people on the call that really applies to. But that's really the big no-no that they're after. So if you're thinking about doing some sort of an incentive for rank advancement, just get in touch with me. You know, I'll help you. I probably have to email compliance about it. I probably would anyway. I mean, you know, when I do things, before I get very far down the road, I email them a lot. And I'll just email them and go, hey, is this cool? I'm not sure. I think it's fine, you know, but is it cool with you? And, you know, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, as long as, you know, and the answer is usually like, yeah, as long as, you know, you tweak this or change this or, you know, that's it. So they're pretty good. They're pretty good people to work with. And I think, you know, we've got some compliance issues right now, you know, related to this coach poaching thing. And it bums me out, but I don't want to stick my head in the sand and pretend like it's not happening. I don't think that that's leadership. I think leadership is educating you guys about what's right and what's not right. A, making sure you don't do it. Most importantly, making sure you don't do it. But B, just making sure that you know that, you know, that if you do find people doing things that are in violation of the procedures, you should report them. And if I need to get involved and I can help, I will. You know, if it's some, you know, it's a lot of these issues I have nothing to do with. And again, you know, somebody who's making income claims or whatever, unless it continues to happen after you've reported it, I probably don't need to know about something like that. If you got a beef with somebody, or, you know, that coach poaching is, you think that there's poaching going on, that I'll get involved with, because I think that that's an issue that needs to stop. And that needs to just change, and it will. You know, it's just like anything. You know, I mentioned eBay. For those of you who don't know, it's not on the top list because it's pretty much a dead issue now. But people used to sell a lot of stuff on eBay. You're not allowed to sell stuff on eBay or Craigslist or any auction site. That's just prohibited. You know, and for a while people were doing it. And what did? We just went and reported them. There were people who, whenever they found them, they report them. It usually would come to me in the form of, well, you're saying Shakeology is $130. This guy's selling it for 60 or whatever. And, you know, it's usually a counterfeit. Every now and then it was a coach. And, you know, report them. You know, we started reporting people and it stopped for the most part. I mean, there's just a few people who still do it. Report them. So all I can tell you is don't break the rules and report people who do. That's your job. You know, that's your job as a coach. Follow the rules. And if you catch people who aren't following the rules, then report them. And if you don't feel like you're getting where you need to go with that, get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. I'll try and get involved. You know, I have, like I said, I know I know Jonathan really well, and I have a good working relationship with Jemima as well. I'm happy to just see what happened and get involved and see if we can fix it. So that's my big compliance lecture. I'll finish with another plug for our webinar tomorrow. I really would like to see you guys on the webinar. I think you're going to enjoy it. Just as a tease for those of you still on the call, still a fair amount of people. What triggered this was I shared in the group Bo Eason's formula for how you make an offer. And it's a 3-part process involved telling a personal story, having 3 critical steps, so 3 things that they need to go do. And then you have a real clear, easy to follow, concise, straightforward, well-executed call to action. And it's just kind of that simple. We're going to go through that and talk about how to tell those personal stories. And we're going to talk about, making those 3 critical steps a part of what you're always talking about. It's kind of like I was talking about earlier, where if I have a customer, I educate my customer about how our system works. Why? Because at some point, the critical step I want them to take is to sign up to become a coach. Okay, so I'm educating them early. Those sorts of things, you can weave those into your marketing. And by the time you get to the point with somebody where they're ready to become a coach, they already know a lot of how it works. Most of the conversations that I have with people who I've had relationships with anyway, when I ask them, have you thought about becoming a Beachbody coach? Their answer is, yeah, actually. And I just had a couple questions because they already know what's going on. Jen, question. Is the call an hour tomorrow? Yeah, I don't think we'll go much longer than that. Yeah, I mean, we're going to try and keep it. We're trying to keep it pretty tight. So, but get your people on it. Again, we'll be talking about the men's leadership event, and that's kind of what's triggering that. And that's the big, focus for us right now, as far as, who we're trying to help and really getting focused on helping guys be more successful. But I would just also ask you guys, look at your downline. I mean, I know what the downline looks like. I look at it all the time. A lot of guys, and I also pull the Success Club reports, and I pull the, who gets Success Club 10, 5, all the top things. I pull all the leadership ladder stuff, and there's a lot of women. So those guys are out there. And the question I would just ask you is, what if, like me, they woke up? Something triggered them to wake up, and they became an elite coach in your organization. I mean, what if I'm just sitting in your downline, sleeping, because I don't know what to do, just like I was when I became a coach. I didn't feel like I could do what Monica was doing, because Monica's really good at talking to people. One-on-one relationships, Monica's a true master. At the time, I wasn't. I've gotten a lot better, but at the time, I wasn't. I couldn't do that. I had to find a different business model, and I had to go dig it out for myself. These guys don't have to dig it out for themselves. We're going to give it to them. We're going to put it on a silver platter and serve it up. So I don't know how important that might be for you to reach out to some people and try and get them on this webinar, but I know there's a hell of a lot of guys in our organization who could be doing way more, and that may not mean being an elite coach. That may just mean getting consistent with making Success Club, earning a little bit of extra money. I mean, I talked to a guy the other day. He was kind of bummed out that he had made $1,000 last year. I was like, well, your Shakeology is free. Like, that's better than just continuing to pay for something or doing nothing with the business at all. But, success happens on different levels. I'm just looking to push everybody forward, so get as many people on the webinar as you can. Unless you guys have another question, I'm done. So my baby girl's math tutor is probably going to knock on the door any second. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for attending. Hope to see you tomorrow night.